So that's our ZBrush award that all of our people walk home with that are the winners in the past years and this year. So I want to touch base on how you even get nominated for a ZBrush award. So the ZBrush awards are about celebrating the breathtaking artwork that is being posted daily on ZBrush Central by studios and individual artists. All nominees have been selected by the countless number of votes that have been casted on ZBrush Central. The winner and the nominees for each category is chosen by you, our community. An image being posted on ZBrush Central has the potential to nominate for every ZBrush award. To cast your vote, just simply click on the vote button. When you go on ZBrush Central, there'll be a little vote button on every image in the lower left corner, and that's how you actually nominate someone for being in an award. So if you like to be nominated for 2018 ZBrush Awards, we encourage you to post today on ZBrush Central. That's right, voting for 2018 ZBrush Awards is happening right now. Okay, so let's see who you've nominated and chosen for the 2017 ZBrush Awards. So let's go to our first category. So our first category this evening is the image of the year. So this is about an individual 2D or 3D image that is an outstanding overall image. The images must be finished, a complete illustration, no works in progress images, only complete images will qualify. Right? Unlike the sculpt of the year, this category is looking at the scenes, models, and all of its surroundings. So let's see who was nominated for this year's image of the year. Really great pieces. Great pieces. All right, let's find out who has won Image of the Year for 2017. Really sealed off really well here. Melissa did a good job. And our winner is, for Image of the Year, Peter Rusnowski. Would you like to say something? I'll let you stand right here.
I would like to say something. Thank you.
Now that's an acceptance speech right there. That's a good one. I like that right there. All right, let's move on to our next category. What is that category, Kingsley? So the sculpt of the year. This is a different type of category. This is about an individual image showing a completed sculpt that is outstanding overall. The majority of the sculpt must be completed in ZBrush, and the model does not have to be colored or textured. It can be organic or it can be hard surface. Right? So let's see who we have for this year's nominees of Sculpt of the Year for 2017. Right. Great nominees right there. Go ahead, give a round of applause. Come on. So let's find out who's won Sculpt of the Year. They're really sealed, Melissa. Are you in here? She's really sealing us up. You're doing this on purpose. Okay. And our winner is Daniel Bell. Daniel Bell is not with us tonight, so I accept the award on his behalf. It'll be on my desk, and then in honor of Peter? Thank you. Okay. All right. Let's see what we have up next for our next award. Yes, the ZBrush to 3D Print of the Year, an award for work completed with ZBrush and outputted to 3D, whether it be prints, collectibles, jewelry, toys, statues, large sculptures, or any other piece where ZBrush Sculpt was been processed through rapid prototyping in 3D. So let's find out who are nominees this year for ZBrush to 3D Print of the Year. All right, and the winner is going to happen. It's going to open. And our winner is Daniel Bell. So my office is getting a lot of hardware. So Daniel, I accept this on your behalf as well. Congratulations. So moving on to our next award. So the top row post of the year. So this tells the world the top world images are the favorites within the community. Both individual and studio threads can be nominated for the top row of the year. So let's see who our nominees are for 2017. Go ahead. All right, so let's see who has won this award. And this year's winner is Carlos Ortega Elizalde. I believe Carlos is not here as well, so I accept the award on your behalf. Thank you. All right, let's see what we got for our next award. So this next award, Studio Thread of the Year. Studio is being defined as a company working on a project that have put up a large amount of images with a minimum of 2 artists working on that project. So let's find out who is up for this year's 2017 Studio Thread of the Year. All right, some really great stuff there. Okay, this year's winner is Guerrilla Games for Horizon Zero Dawn. Can you say something? Get right here.
Okay.
Right here. I'll let you hold that.
Okay, so on behalf of the whole Gorilla team and all our external partners, I want to thank you guys a lot for nominating us and now actually winning. So thanks a lot. It means a lot to us. Cool.
You want to say anything?
My hands are shaking right now. I'm like super nervous. I didn't expect that, to be honest, but a good big shout out to our team at home and to our external partners. You guys are awesome. Yeah. We did all this great work, and thanks to you all guys who voted, and it's just amazing to be here. Yeah. That's all I can say. Thanks so much. Cool.
Congrats. Here, your card. Your card. Oh, you don't want the card. I'll keep the card. All right. As I'm hidden down here. Okay, let's see what our next award is. So, Game Art of the Year. So unlike the Studio Thread of the Year, this includes individual artists' threads showing work on a game project. It can also include any collaborative thread for a release game title where several artists have posted work in one thread. Game fan art or personal sculpts of any game character do not qualify for this award. The artwork posted must be used within the actual game pipeline. So let's see who we have for this year's Game Art of the Year. So this year's winner for Game Art of the Year is Guerrilla Games. I'll let you hold that one. All right. Let's do it again.
Let's do it again. What did I say before?
Here you go.
Yeah, number 2. That's just great. That's just amazing. I'm speechless, to be honest. Just thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, we definitely should have prepared something for this. We weren't expecting it. Again, thanks so much for the team, all external partners, for our direction to pushing it to like this next level.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah. So yeah, again, thanks so much for like,
cool.
Oh my God.
You got it. Well, congratulations, man. Congratulations. Congratulations. All right, so let's see what our next award is. So the Film Art of the Year. Unlike the Studio Thread of the Year, this category includes individual artist threads, again, showing work or a film project they've worked on. It can include a collaboration from many artists from the project in one thread, but it's got to be on a released movie title where several artists have posted the work. Film art or personal sculpts of any movie character do not qualify. The artwork must have been used within the film pipeline. So let's see who we have for this year's nominees for Film Art of the Year. And the winner of the 2017 Film Art of the Year is Daniel Bielstead for the Atom demo. Congratulations.
Other mic. So I just want to say thank you. It's truly an honor. I think there's so many great artists out there that deserves this award just as well as I do. And I want to take this opportunity to thank Pixelogic for creating ZBrush, which enabled us at Goodbye Kansas to create the stuff that we do. We could never do that stuff otherwise. So thank you.
Do you want your card? There you go. And for our final award, I'd like to invite up Jaime LaBelle.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here tonight and present this award. The recipient of this year's ZBrush Honorary Award has already established a dynamic and broad career highlighted by 5 Oscars, 4 BAFTA awards, and the key to the city of Wellington. He is the co-founder, co-director, and creative force behind the Weta Workshop, a special effect powerhouse responsible for blockbuster movies such as The Lord of the Rings trilogy, King Kong, District 9, Ghost in the Shell, and countless, I mean countless of other achievements in film and television. He's worked tirelessly over the decades to expand the art of filmmaking while helping audiences imagine new worlds and fantastical characters. This year's ZBrush Honorary Award winner continues to advance the discipline of digital and practical effects, while also framing how and in what ways films are made. He and the many talented men and women who make up the Weta team recognize and respect the value of artisanship, the importance of detail, and continue to honor the traditions of our crafts. Pixelogic is extremely proud to take part in Weta's journey and honored to present this year's ZBrush Award to Sir Richard Taylor.
Well, thank you, everyone. As well as winning the award, I'm also giving you a talk tonight. And I'm going to try and coordinate looking at the screen, controlling my talk, while playing it up here and reading off some notes. So we'll see how it goes. So I've just flown up from New Zealand for tonight. I fly back again tomorrow, so it's a bit of a crazy week. I've just... thank you. I've just come in from China and Korea. I've been working up in China for about 17, 18 years now and do a great deal of lecturing up there, but also interacting with young artists. And we now run a competition in China, as we have done in Korea for a number of years, which are concept design and sculpting competitions. They're just a philanthropic endeavor that we're doing to try and bring communities of sculptors and artists together between New Zealand and China, and New Zealand and Korea. So I get the chance to take New Zealand tertiary educated students up to China and Korea, and then the winners of the competitions in turn with us in New Zealand. So it's been very lovely thing. And in the last couple of years, trying to get them to understand the value of embracing ZBrush, which is just starting to creep in to their schooling and their inspiration. So here we go. I'll set off and give you my talk, which I have written over the last few days. I hope you'll enjoy it. So please roll. So thank you for inviting me to speak at this distinguished evening, and of course thank you for my lovely and special award. I accept it on behalf of all of our creative team back in Wellington, and especially those in our team that have pioneered our way into ZBrush, which has become a critical art tool. Although I am not far from being a daily user and practitioner of ZBrush, I'm a little bit more comfortable working in the physical world. Jaime and the Pixelogic team have invited me to speak to you, I guess, as a veteran creative director who has seen the introduction and adoption of digital creative mediums and have entirely embraced the evolution of ZBrush in our pipeline. I'm the co-founder of the Weta Companies and work as the CEO and creative director of Weta Workshop, which is based in Wellington in New Zealand. Although we're best known for our film work on movies such as LOTR, The Hobbit, Avatar, District 9, King Kong, The Chronicles of Narnia, we do a lot more than that in our company. I think of us as a design and manufacturing facility. We have 6 different divisions and 11 different departments within our facility, and our diverse team of people work across these departments. We've tried very hard not to specialize so that people can work freely across everything that we do. I'm also very proud of the fact that almost 50% of our team are women to men in the workshop. Now, a lot can happen at our place in a year or so, and so over the last 15 months, we've had to deliver on 8 feature films. We're in production of our co-production children's television show, The Cadets, which is in a partnership with our partners in China, Huan Century. We've started on our 3rd season of our much-loved television series, Thunderbirds Are Go. We've completed our 2nd season of our Australian co-production TV series, Cleverman. We've opened a major exhibition celebrating the unique qualities of bugs. And we've published our 19th book, our most significant to date at 509 pages. We've held art exhibitions and technical demonstrations in Wuhan, Shanghai, Korea, Australia, Europe, the US, and created public and private art sculptures, memorials, and commissions for a variety of people around the world. We've developed new consumer products and collectibles, and taken these to multiple conventions over the past 12 months. We have a new tourism offering. We've invented and launched a new board game, expanded our digital division and moved them into their new facility, and completed our sculpture park in New Zealand. All of this having only been made possible through the incredible interaction, dedication, and inventiveness of our team. Artists and craftspeople that have gathered with us over the years to deliver to the scale and excellence that we expect from them. A crew that have joined us from across New Zealand and from across the world. A crew assembled through internships, work trials, by winning competitions, by interviewing, by simply knocking on our door, who have become the creative firepower that we look for in our workshop. And a firepower that has become significantly more enabled through the introduction of digital pipelines into our company. Now consider that while on LOTR, every object, all 48,000 of them that we made for those films was created by handcraft-based skills. Jump forward a mere 15 years to the making of The Hobbit, and 60% of everything that we made was in some way assisted through the incredible enablement of a digital design and modeling pipeline and the use of robotic manufacturing, whether by 3D printing, 3 to 7 axis CNC milling, or plasma, laser, or water jet cutting. The impact has been fundamental. Now, commercial factors have changed, the industry. These factors require such a shift in our way of thinking and doing. Thank you. With ever-decreasing delivery periods being at the forefront of those changes, coupled with an audience that do not wish to see the same thing tomorrow as they saw yesterday, there is an ever-increasing requirement to deliver new and exciting things within decreased time and budget constraints. So simply put, do more with less, faster. The only way I know to achieve these expectations of reduced costs, timelines, and heightened audience expectations, knowing that our crew are already running as intensely as possible and are as finely tuned as possible, is through innovative methodologies. To take one's existing methodologies and innovate, iterate, invent, prototype, research, develop, test and trial new ways to do things, and therefore innovate new ways to make. We've had to think about how we complement our trusty digits at the end of our hands with the modern tools of creation in an ever-increasing need to accelerate and lift to another level of excellence and output for the processes by which we work. The Wacom tablet, the stylus, the Cintiq, the softwares that power them, Photoshop, InDesign, Modo, Rhino, Maya, Delcam, Edgecam, Illustrator, Marvelous Designer, After Effects, and specifically ZBrush. These are the modern enablers that are at the heart of much of our innovation. We are primarily concerned with ways of creating, and therefore it is important not to lose the tactility in our digital workflow. So we constantly look at the ways in which ZBrush can be innovatively utilized as a catalyst for our creative process. ZBrush allows for the rapid communication of imaginative ideas, not only to others in the design and manufacturing team, but also to our clients. Now, one could argue that the soul of a country is in its art and craftsmanship. It's this that has defined the visual and cultural uniqueness distinct to every country around the world. The arts and craftsmanship of a country produces the visual definition of its people. Art and craftsmanship are the pennants that call a country's populace to celebrate in their own cultural uniqueness and inheritance. Weta Workshop is a boutique design and craft-based workshop that largely deals with the manufacture of physical props and collectibles. The need to work digitally is undeniable, so we need a tool that allows us to retain that physicality and soul in our work. ZBrush allows for this in ways it emulates tactile media such as clay and plasticine and then marries it perfectly with our digital workflow. As a creative director tasked with art directing and finessing the development of these objects, my ability to seamlessly interact with the artwork due to the fluidity of ZBrush interface is nothing short of extraordinary. With practical sculpting, it's very hard to make suggestions without committing to making changes physically to the art. Some of these ultimately are very difficult to reverse, but the ability to make a copy of our team's work digitally that I can then work into with confidence in either the subtle or radical adaptations that I might choose to implement can be quickly erased if my choices ultimately prove to be somewhat crappy. And it's obviously greatly benefiting to the team that they can quickly undo some of my suggestions. I consider that the tactility of media of ZBrush once again brings art and physical object manufacture to the forefront of our lives, as we can output an ever superior object catalogue as the cost of machines reduce and the scale of prints increase. We purchased one of the first printers commercially available 14 or 15 years ago. With print size restrictions, we were greatly limited to our outputs. But today, with the ever-increasing scale of printers, their reduced costs, and the speed and fidelity which they print is becoming a reality that almost anything is possible. ZBrush has significantly heightened our ability to output objects of purpose, of beauty, of application, and of ornament that can continue to adorn our world with culturally relevant objets d'art. It is this digital tool that has empowered a new generation of concept artists, illustrators, designers, and sculptors to such a degree that I would go as far as to say that we're living through a new renaissance of art, little seen in its unbridled uptake of creative careers since the height of the Renaissance. Now, as this picture shows, I have a great love of figurative art. I actually share my office with my wife, my assistant, our general manager, and his assistant, and 240 garage kits, which I've lovingly assembled and painted over the years. The 40-year-old virgin has nothing on me, I tell you. So Thank you. I have a great love of figurative art sculpture. I've studied and engaged with this for most of my creative career. I have grown very particular about the things I like and those that are less agreeable to me. I was of the view early on in the evolution of digital sculpting in our workshop, when the haptic arm and the associated software was leading the way for digital sculpting, that the intrinsic elements of great figurative work, the soul of the sculpture, would be impossible to capture in a figurative sculpt through a digital medium. But how wrong I was. Through the inevitable evolution of these digital tools and software and the artistry that uses them, ZBrush has delivered to the artist a sculpting tool that has enough subtlety of operation, if coupled with the dexterity of the artist's hand and the observational skills of their mind, to be used to deliver not only a piece of sculpture that is an object of beauty, but also acquiring of that distinct ephemeral element that all great sculptors are seeking in their work. A sense of soul, a sense of place, a sense of belonging, a sculpture that transcends the object and elevates it to a work of fine art that can connect, can move, and can emote for people. So I don't just waffle on about arty-farty things, I've also decided to put some case studies together for you. So following is the first of 3 examples of practical ways that we are using ZBrush in the creative process to deliver things of either beauty, function, or innovation. Our ZBrush work is probably best known for our design team doing extraordinary concept art for the films that we've worked on. But ZBrush works at a much deeper level than that within our workshop, and we've tried to implement it as a tool into almost every aspect of our work. These are just 3 small examples of how our daily life has been affected by that. So the first one is Sabin Howard's War Memorial, First World War American War Memorial. So while visiting New York for the Ghost in the Shell media junket, off we go. Is that going to kick in? Yeah. There we go. And encountering some cool advertising in Times Square. You can tell these are small town boys away from home. I had the good fortune of calling in on sculptor Sabin Howard. On a wet and dreary New York morning, I stepped into his art studio loft in the Bronx and quickly saw amongst his incredible sculptures a photo montage of a significant war memorial that he had been developing for the past 2 years. I communicated to him my great love of figurative art, specifically the war memorials from the First World War. I suggested that we would love to work on this with him. And what's more, the significant capacity that we had in the workshop in physical and digital sculpting could be a great way for him to realize this sculpture. He must have taken notice, as 2 weeks later to the day from the time I met him in the Bronx, he turned up at our workshop. And there began a ZBrush odyssey that we are immersed in as we speak. As designed, Sabin's World War I memorial design requires the sculpting of 38 highly detailed and historically accurate military figures, ranging from very low bas relief right through to perspectively distorted figures in the full round. Sabin had started to realize that even with an army of practical sculptors, he would be challenged to piece something as complex as this together in the time he had available. I therefore proposed a ZBrush-enabled pipeline would allow our sculptors to quickly trial and test the relevant placement, perspective, and bas relief of the compositions and give him the full freedom to art directorially experiment with his composition and the relative levels of depth of his figures. Then through quick polystyrene mills, we could quickly output proof of concept sculpts for him as we progressed along. This we did several times so we could help Sabin understand his original concept now as a physical object. We could also offer him the added bonus of being able to walk around the sculpture at the proposed final size of 65 feet in length via the VR headset that we had set up for such things. Once we completed the ZBrush sculpture and gained Sabin's approval, we 3D printed the entire sculpt on a large-scale Chinese printer. We printed it in 116 pieces to make it easier to mold and cast in plasticine. These pieces are now in cleanup and assembly in preparation for our team to swap from digital to physical sculpting to ultimately refine the pieces ready for Sabin's artistic input and then final molding and casting. This project is a celebration of ZBrush as an art tool, reinforcing that it is a tool that enables the artist a heightened level of visualization, experimentation, and ultimate control over the artistic interpretation of the brief. A tool that can add to the sculpting prowess and the process and bring incredible benefits to highly complex fine art sculptures such as the one that Sabin Howard has conceived. Thank you. You can firmly see that I've drunken from the cup of the ZBrush Kool-Aid, can't you? They didn't even have to pay me to say any of this. It's quite mind-boggling. So, for those of you doing hard surface work, I thought I'd do a case study of some hard surface modeling. There won't be anything in here that is a revelation because, of course, most, if not all of you are doing extraordinary hard surface modeling, and some of the work that I've seen in the gallery this afternoon is without doubt some of the finest work that I've seen. But hard surface modeling in ZBrush is a critical part of the pipeline when we're building something like the robots for Ghost in the Shell, building things like the 3D printed suits for Oscorp on Spider-Man, the robots in Chappie, the technology, the guns in District 9 or Avatar. All of it ultimately goes through our ZBrush hard surface pipeline. So we were thrilled when we were asked to create the Power Ranger suits for the recent film adaptation of this much-loved TV series. Legacy Effects provided the wonderful initial designs from which we prototyped and then built the final suits. Initially, our 3D department received loose ZBrush sketch models of the suits and helmets from our design department. These models didn't yet fit the actors' heads or bodies and didn't yet have the right thickness in the materials. So we cleaned up these design models using ZBrush's retopology tools and extruded it by 3 millimeters to give it the right thickness. For printing, molding, and casting purposes, the helmet was modeled separately in 5 sections. We put small locator tabs and keys on the underside of the helmet parts before we printed them, so that the prop team could put the pieces back together easily later on. After the cleanup, further tweaking happened in ZBrush. We needed to make sure that the helmets and the suits fit the actors, of course. We scaled the models using the 3D scanned version of our black foam prototype helmet as reference. We tried to match them as closely as possible while still keeping the original silhouette and proportions from the concept design. In ZBrush, we sharpened the edges of the helmet that needed to be hard-edged and gave the model a reasonable number of subdivisions to make it as high poly as possible. We decided to separate the smooth, hard-edged armor elements and the bismuth textures that can be seen in the back of each piece. The armor design has underlying textures that we needed to make enough room for the smooth outer shell. We used masking and Dynamesh to offset the areas where the bismuth texture was to be laid in. This meant that the parts were easier and cheaper to print and clean up. This process was repeated on all parts of the helmet that required underlying textures. Here's the insert locator keys added to the helmet part before printing. These will help the props team in the assembly process later on. The bismuth-like texture that was then modeled using a tiling displacement on the flat surface, which was then printed and molded. This could be laid in and glued into the back of the armor elements by hand. The master is then molded and cast in a clear elastomeric polymer, and the back is painted so from the outside the texture looks like the crystals. We modeled the visor separately and then milled it out in aluminium. We use the aluminium block as the buck for vac forming the visors using clear acrylic sheet. All the final pieces are painted, assembled, and rigged into the final helmet to be worn by both the actors and the stunt people for the film. And now, thank you. I love the fact that ZBrush, if we were to have done this traditionally, we would have sculpted Sabin Howard's sculpture in clay, life-size, and then we would have done this helmet in the hardest Chavant plasticine. And I love the fact that ZBrush gives you the organic manipulation of those original materials across its full suite of applications, so that at one level in the sculpting department, the traditional sculptors that are used to using organic materials can push around a ZBrush model with a fluidity equivalent to a soft water-based clay, and then our 3D digital artists who are far more used to working in a harder medium such as Chavant or Sebatal now have the ability to extrapolate the models out of the digital medium with the same mindset. And I think this is probably rarely noted, but a lovely part of the ZBrush experience, that it gives you the equivalent tactility in the machine that we have in our own lives in the physical build. And that is a wonderful thing to celebrate. So my third case study, I mentioned that innovative methodologies is at the heart of how we try and stay ahead of the lowest bidder, ahead of increasing wages, etc. We don't want to let our staff go. We don't want to not do what we love doing. We don't want to pay people less, nor should we or would we be able to do that. So the only way to compete with lower cost providers and the emerging technologies around the world is to constantly try and innovate new ways to do things. Now, this may not be an innovation for the world, but it is for our workshop. Others may already be doing this significantly, but to lift digital prosthetics to the level that they will hold up to the scrutiny on film is a challenge. And so I am sharing with you a case study of something that we've literally just done 3 days ago, or the results were photographed 3 days ago. as something that we've got working in the process. I'm very much an individual. I was discussing this with some people earlier. I don't believe in secrets. I think secrets are the undermining of an industry. I only know what I know. Obviously, a lot of it's self-taught, but I read the work of Dick Smith. I was inspired by the work of Ray Harryhausen. And of course, I had the great fortune of visiting Rick Baker's workshop maybe 27 years ago. He didn't sit me in his conference room and give me 5 minutes of his time. He freely walked me through his facility and shared with me what he was doing. And of course, in turn, that entirely inspired me to think in different ways, as did Ray Harryhausen, as did Dick Smith. So, I was explaining my name is still in the phone book because I want people to phone up and say, but how did you do that? Because the only way to actually disperse the knowledge and information that you've garnered from what you're doing is, of course, to share it with others. And this is a good example of that because this is something that we've just been mucking around with. So we've made the decision to explore the idea of making digitally modeled physical prosthetics. We wanted to make sure we could achieve the same level of tolerance and execution that we can for our normal silicon manufacturing process. We chose a model, Maddie, from our staff in our workshop, someone with extremely fine pore detail to make it as difficult as possible for ourselves. We put her in front of our very simple home-built photogrammetry set and took a scan of her face. We chose to color her face with body paint so we got the best possible reference for these photographs as we could. As you see in the photos, even though the system is pretty crude, only using about 6 cameras, we got enough pore detail to warrant a test of a silicon prosthesis. Here you can see the digital model that has been developed in ZBrush, a sort of a witch's nose that we've digitally sculpted onto the photogrammetry of our model. One of our team then developed the 3D printing model, both the core and the mold, and we printed in a variety of different materials. Some we could print in the workshop, and others we printed at our bureau in China. We did this because we wanted to test all the different 3D printing materials to see if they reacted differently under the pressures of the casting process and how they would interact with the silicon material that we were applying into each mold. Ultimately, we did achieve the results we wanted through one of the cheapest 3D printing technologies and managed to pull a pretty accurate prosthetic and with fine blending edges. Jason Doherty, our senior prosthetic supervisor, is applying the prosthetic onto Maddie's nose. Although the results aren't absolutely perfect, and we put this down to distortion in the 3D printed model, in the mold, we feel it was a worthy test that warrants further exploration. In the coming weeks, we'll be pushing this further. Once again, though, it speaks to the fact that at the heart of this inspiration and aspiration was our ability to sculpt digitally to incredibly fine fidelity and accuracy using ZBrush. So, in conclusion, you're a very generous crowd with your clapping. Oh, thank you very much. So in conclusion, ZBrush is at the heart of a huge number of things that we do in the workshop, as I've shown. In fact, some of our team would argue that it is in fact the heart of our workshop and our creative processes these days. Either way, this art tool has become fundamental in how we think, create, make, and inspire in our continued creative journey at Weta Workshop. 20 years ago, it would have been hard for me to have imagined that one individual thing could be as catalytic around the changes in the way we all work. But today, we are all liberally using the term ZBrush, as casually as our creative forefathers may have used the word brush, chisel, hammer, palette knife, clay, or paint. when describing their daily artistic tools of choice. Although in many ways the encompassing label of ZBrush renders the people actually responsible for this revolutionary tool somewhat anonymous. In closing, I want to acknowledge on behalf of all my colleagues at the workshop in Wellington our admiration and deep felt appreciation to Ofer Alon and his colleague but of course, all the men and women who have worked so hard over the past decade also to bring us all something so magical as the tool that is known as ZBrush. Woohoo! Thank you.
All right, that's an end to day 2. Please stay tuned for tomorrow's day 3. Ladies and gentlemen, again, thanks for joining us. For those here, we got a party going on the outside. For you online, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow for our final day, day 3 of the ZBrush Summit 2017. Let's give a round of applause again to Mr. Sir Richard Taylor. Thank you. All right, we'll see you all tomorrow. Have a great night.